My name is Caitlin Sullivan, and this is my final project for Police in the Community. For this project, we were assigned to create an outreach program for middle school kids and for teenagers, and so I decided to do a sports program. You might be thinking, well, what is an outreach program? An outreach program is something that the police in the community does together to maintain trust and to keep the relationship. An example of this is the Citizens Police Academy, which I have pictured on the screen. This helps teach the community about the different aspects of police work, while also letting the officers get to know the people who signed up for the program. Now you might be thinking, well, why do we need these? You can be thinking that wherever you live, you have a great relationship with the community, with the police. The police and the community have a great relationship, but sadly, that is not always true. As we can tell from current events, sometimes the trust gets broken on either sides, or something happens and you can't just ignore it anymore, and you have to face the issue head on. So in some cities, in some towns, some villages, some counties, wherever, there will be a broken trust, and these outreach programs try to help bring back the trust and rebuild that relationship that could have been damaged. Now, the basics of the sports program I've designed. This is also mainly based on personal experience and research I've done, looking into different programs, but at the programs that are in my community, like CYO and just the basketball leagues and those things. But this is a great way to maintain trust, is through the kids. Parents notice when kids trust adults. And because kids are great, I've heard so many people say this, kids are a great way to tell if someone is a good person or a bad person, mainly because many believe that they have great sense about people, like intuition about people. So it's definitely a good thing when a child trusts a police officer, and if they can be a trusted adult, which I will go into later. So the sports program, so the coaches will be police officers, and these police officers can volunteer for what sports they want to do, because hopefully enough people sign up so you can have multiple sports, because not every kid's going to like the same exact one, but many will. So, because if there's a lot of kids, let's say basketball, I will be talking about this in the next slide, but if there's enough teams, you can have competitions between each other, and if other police departments start adopting this program, then they can have games with each other and matches with each other. And if this program would be after school, like mentioned in our lectures, after school is when crime goes up, mainly because these kids may not have anywhere to go, or they may not have an activity to do, so they just go along with the crowd, and peer pressure is very dangerous. So if there's a group of like loud, rowdy teens, it's most likely one or two of them making most of the noise and the rest of them following along. So, and also, if it is an after-school program, like right after school, then the parents of these kids, if they have to work, or if they have another thing to do, then they can go and trust their kids to these officers, and then slowly but surely, the trust will go up and up and up until there's a really good relationship between the two of them. So, you may be thinking, why sports? why not music? Because music does have a lot of benefits, but sports also have enormous benefits. It teaches discipline. If a kid wants to learn, if they want to be amazing at a sport, it takes time, it takes practice, and with that time and practice, they also have other things to do, so it could teach them time management and so forth, which is a great life skill, which is my next point. And it also teaches them leadership. It teaches them trust in their team. It gives them confidence. A big thing is sometimes these kids are they don't have any confidence in themselves, in their abilities. So they might fall into the wrong crowd because that kid has confidence, obviously, so why wouldn't I want to follow that? So if the kid has their own confidence and has his own feeling about itself, he's less likely to be pressured into doing something that he really should not be doing. And it's also great mentorship opportunities, because later on I will be talking about how coaches impact a kid, and especially so. I have a quote from my friend Matt, because I reached out to some of my friends that I knew played sports, and I wanted to hear about how sports affected them or their coaches affected them. And he threw shot put in high school. So this is quote: "These lessons I've taken forward with me in my leadership roles, trusting in my team members to have my back, and constantly striving to be better at what I did and engage in new disciplines." So sports, throwing shot put obviously made him trust his teammates more. Even though shot put's more of an individual event, he still had his team cheering him on and there for him whenever he needed it. So he learned how to trust other people. He learned how to be a leader in situations where he might have had to step up. So the sports that can be offered, this is obviously what I'm most experienced in, and the sports that are more popular where I am. So this may change city to city, town to town, but I think the first one, basketball, is a pretty universal sport in America. It's very popular. You can play it pretty much any time of the year. It's definitely one of the more affordable ones on this list too, because you just really kind of need a ball and a basket and you can go out and play. And a lot of cities, towns, villages, they already have hoops out, and it's very easy to pick up on. It's very easy to go out and with your friends and be like, hey, you want to play basketball? And you usually don't have to spend that much money. And the next sport, swimming. I'm from Long Island, so swimming is definitely much more of a bigger thing here than it might be somewhere in the Midwest. But it is very important, in my personal opinion, it's very important for someone to learn how to swim, just to make sure they're safe if they are ever near a body of water. So it's also a very good lifelong sport. It's one of the best sports for your body. It stretches out your back. It's one of the better ones. It doesn't, you don't bounce on your joints a lot, so it doesn't hurt your knees. It doesn't really hurt your legs. Some strokes, like breaststroke, might happen, but generally, it's a pretty relatively injury-free sport. But it's definitely also very important to learn, just because drowning rates, to keep those down, and hopefully the more drowning rates goes down, the less influx of 911 calls there are, so they can focus more on making sure the community as a whole is safe, because if the kids aren't safe, even if it is a backyard pool, then it's just not a good situation to be in. The next one is volleyball. Volleyball is definitely a very heavily team sport. You have to learn how to communicate with one another. You need to learn how to work with one another to win anything, let alone actually play. It's very based in that. And so that teaches kids leadership skills. If if you're the setter, you have to make sure you're sending it to the right person, or the person knows that they're going to get it. So you need to communicate. You need to learn those skills. So it's a very good sport to play. And lastly, tennis. Tennis helps a lot with hand-eye coordination, because you have to watch the ball and make sure you follow through. And also, like, it's much more of a country club sport, but it is used, so that means it is used in business, and so that's a life skill that they can take forever with them. If they know how to play a little bit of tennis, they might be able to close a business deal later down on the line, which may seem crazy to even think about, but it is something important, especially in today's world where you want a leg up. This might be the leg up. But it is also probably the most expensive out of the 4 I've listed. And it's probably not everywhere has tennis courts, so this probably will vary city to city, state to state. Now, how will these help? This promotes the bonds in our community. Children are the future of our community, of our society, and they should be treated as such. They should be treated with respect and kindness. Now, I'm not saying that every kid's gonna know exactly what to do. No, they do need discipline, but there's definitely a way to help guide the kids in the right direction, and I think through these programs with coaches, which will be on my next slide, it will definitely help make sure it's going in a better direction than maybe if there was no. Because sometimes kids don't have a trusted adult in their home. Maybe it's because they're being abused or something else is going on. So if they do have a bond with one of these officers who can help them, if it's a mental health issue, if it's anything like that, it will make them feel more loved and welcome into the community, so they're less likely to want to harm the community. And coaches and mentors' legacy. Coaches, I think all of us can say we have a coach, or had a coach, that we still remember to this day, because of how kind they were to us, how helpful they were to us. And again, I can't stress how important it is for them to have these kids to have a trusted adult, especially since it may not be at home, like I mentioned before, and even many kids will remember the words of the adults that coach them. I remember most of my coaches and how they treated me. My mom swam in college, and she talked about a letter her coach wrote her when she graduated. And I reached out to one of my friends, Katie. Her name's Katie. She plays collegiate lacrosse at Manhattanville College, because I know she's done lacrosse, she's done swimming. Those were her main 2 sports. So I asked her, I was like, do you have a coach that stood out to you? And she said yes. And then she sent me along this, and this is another quote. My life changed the day I started swimming for Anne. She helped me become a self-sufficient person and taught me to believe in myself. And that's what coaches should do. They should help you be self-sufficient while giving you the confidence to believe in yourself, to know what you're doing is the right thing, and to know that you can do what you set your mind to. So I definitely really like that quote, so I definitely wanted to include it. It just shows that even like the smallest little pat on the back might mean the world to the kid. So it shows that even like the smallest expressions have the greatest meaning. So in conclusion, these programs are very, very important to create well-rounded kids and to also help promote the bonds in the community. Because without the community support and trust in the police, then the police will no longer have a purpose. So that's why I think a sports program will be the perfect way for the community to get involved with the police officers, because then they'll know who's there to serve and protect them. Without this, they may never know, or they may not care at the end of the day. But it's really, really important that these middle school children to teenagers are also looked after. Overall, it's a very important, outreach programs are very, very important to make sure our community runs smoothly with the surrounding police departments. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for a great semester.